Hi everybody, hope you're all keeping well. Well, the boys and myself, we decided we're going to start moving around, covering a few new lakes, and what better place to start it all off than to go fish Ellerdine lakes. So I've never fished Ellerdine Lake before, and like any water I've never fished before, what I want to do is do a bit of homework, do a bit of research, find out more about the water so that I can improve my chances on the day. So the first thing I'll do is go onto YouTube. Now for me, if I can actually see the water, it doesn't matter too much about who's presenting it, but what I wanted to do is get more of a feel for the water, and that visual that I'm getting, I find it just helps me a lot. It gives me a bit of an idea of what I'm going to be facing. So going on to YouTube, the first thing I've done is clock on to Gareth's videos. Now Gareth has covered Ellerdine quite a few times. This is Gareth from UK Fly Fisher. Now each time Gareth has been on the water, the first thing I noticed that the water's coloured. On one of his videos he did point out a really good tip is to fish your dropper a lot closer to the point fly, and that really does work when you're fishing with coloured waters. So the next thing then, Ellerdine Facebook, and obviously on there you've got your pictures, your reviews, so you can get a lot of information from that. But most of all, what they have, catch returns. Now there's no point in me looking at a catch return for June, July. I'm fishing it October, November time, so I'm picking up all the later catch returns. When I read catch returns, I may well read them a bit different to most, but there's a lot of information on a catch return. Give you an example, if we go through this catch return. Okay, if we look at this column here, it's the first left-hand column. That's our fish count for the day, and then the third column across is the patterns. At the very top, we have 12, which is on the apps. A bit further down, we got 19 on the egg, and then 24 on the combs, black and green, and just below it is 12 on a snake and egg. So for most of us, we'd be happy with that, and we're going to make sure we got our apps, eggs, snakes, combs, and whatever it is that's on that list in our fly box to fish. Now, as we can see, now it's funny because lures are normally a top pattern or a good pattern to be using at this time of the year, and when we look at it, the lures are on low counts. To me that doesn't make sense because we do know the lures at this time of the year are going to do quite well. But there's one obvious thing. If we look at all the high counts again, see what it is and think about how it's fished. So the apps, the buzzers, eggs, and all these patterns are generally fished a lot slower. So patterns that are fished slower have got a higher catch rate as opposed to the patterns generally fished quicker on a lower count rate. And that all makes sense when you think of the colour of the water up there. So the more coloured the water is, the slower you need to be moving that pattern. So what it means then that I can go up to Ellerdine, fish my lures, but when I'm fishing them, I just fish them slower. So that's what I see in a catch return. So on a different water, the catch return is going to be a bit different. But if you look at them more carefully in the future and think not just high numbers and look at the pattern and match that pattern in your box, you look at the pattern and think about how it's fished, and even think about what level of water it's more likely to be fished. Certain patterns you're going to find will be higher in the columns, certain patterns will could well be lower in the columns, so you can get a bit more of an idea from that catch return. So okay, so I got most of my homework done. I'm quite happy to head off to Ellerdine. But there is one other little thing that I did do. It was a few evenings before heading off to Ellerdine. I decided I'd tie up a lure for Ellerdine. And I know on here the counts on lures was quite low, but I'm convinced that if you've got the right lure and it's fished at the right pace, that it will work. A lot of the lures that I'm aware of, like with Gareth's Black Mamba, which is an incredible pattern. It does attract a heck of a lot of fish. I use it occasionally myself. I tend to lose a few fish as well later on and then not long off, and obviously I think it's due to the length and where the position of the hook. They're not quite getting enough of the hook. So I tend to keep mine that little bit shorter. But for this particular water, now when we think of coloured water, the main attraction. What really works there, obviously, it's the darker colours and it's the silhouette. So what I've done is I've gone with bulk, because that will give you a much bigger, better silhouette in the darker coloured waters than a longer streamlined pattern. So anyway, on the day, the boys and myself, we've got a long trip to get to Ellerdine. Something like 4 or 5 hours depending on traffic. So Di and myself have decided we're going to head off at 4 o'clock in the morning, and we got a good hour and a half before we pick Justin up. So once we've arrived at Ellerdine, first thing we do, we go into the office and we book our tickets. We've gone sport ticket. We also book our breakfasts, which are great breakfasts, by the way, minus a black pudding. Then you pay an extra £1 for your teas and coffees all day long. We're then having a look around the shop, which is a well set out shop, and it covers everything from fly tying materials, tippets, flies, rods, lines. It does everything. So if you forget something, they're more likely going to have it there. And then we're talking with management. Management were really helpful. They were going through everything with us as methods, what patterns are working, good areas to fish, and also told us about the amount of fish fry in there. So if you got the amount of fish fry that they have, or fish fry at all, in your waters, you want to target the margins. It wasn't long and Justin's already kitted up. Justin's gone out with a intermediate line, 2 fly cast. Now on his dropper, he's mixing it around a bit with cormorants, dowbacks and certain crunchers, but on his point fly, he's going with his version of the black and green Fritz. Di and myself are still messing about, setting up our lines. We're almost certainly going to go floating lines, single fly, and we're going to mess about for a few hours. Now, when you've got a whole day on the water, we do spend a good bit of time trying out things. But while we're there setting up, some of the regulars are coming by. Now, these really friendly people, they're coming up, very chatty, and they're also going through their methods, what they've been catching on recently, and giving us information as to where some of the hot spots are and where we're more likely to pick fish up. These sort of waters, when you've got people like that on there, these waters is what makes a good fishery for me. So it's not always about the fishing or the water. For me, it's as much about the regulars. And when they're as friendly as this, it makes for a much better day's fishing. And if you're learning to fly fish, these are the waters you want to target. You're going to learn more on these waters than anything else. You'll learn more on that water than even watching YouTube, because you're on the water at that time. Now, whatever method you've just picked up the night before on YouTube, you can go out there and it may not be the method for the day. And yet you can see somebody down the bank who is pulling a fish out. And if you know they're approachable, you can go and ask them. So this is where you want to target if you are learning fly fishing. So Di and myself, we've more or less set up, as I say, we're going floating fly line, single flies. Di's working one bank and I'm working the other. Now as we're setting up, we've looked across and we're watching Justin. It's only about 10 or 15 minutes and Justin's into his first fish. By the time I've got halfway around the lake, Justin's into probably 4 or 5 fish. So by the time I've worked most of the lake, I'm now catching up with the boys. But this is how our day panned out at Ellerdine Lake on Meadow. Di into a fish now. Where you get that on, Di? Down back? Down back. Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, against in this reeded corner seems to be the business. He's hitting loads. Where's he gone? Is this your first Spartak? He's digging his head down, mate. Oh, too much weight. And his fly, is it? Oh no, there it is.
Oh yeah, he's there. He lives to
Well, he was interested, wasn't he?
Here's Justin in this corner. Justin's been pulling quite a few fish out of this corner area this morning. Something like 7 or 8 fish he's had out of there already. Okay, just picked up the first fish on the buzzer. He went straight into the reeds. Going like a clappers, can't keep in touch with it. And straight into the reeds again. Bloody hell. It's not a big fish, it's fast. Spartic. He's good £2, I'd say, something like that. This is a new net I've been working with now that I picked up. It's a salmon one, but it gives the fish plenty of time to relax, plenty of room for them. Come on then. Okay, so I've gone around the lake. I haven't had much joy really. Been fishing the margins, trying lots of different things. The thing is, you've got to sometimes mess about like this, try different things. You've got the time to spend, like we've got the day here, so it's worth putting a few hours in, just trying something that's just totally out of the box, something totally different, and just give it a go. But as I say, I haven't had much luck with that. So the boys are catching, so what I'm going to do is switch the setup. I'm going to put a 5 to 6 foot tippet on with a dropper with the cormorant on there, cormorant or dowback, because Justin's been hitting them, picking them up with them. And then what I've got then is about another 18 inches to 2 foot of tippet to the point fly. And what I'm going to do there is I'm going to be putting on this new pattern that I've been messing about with. I only tied it up the other night and I just sat there looking at it and thinking, well, these eggs and blob fly things, they seem to attract a lot of fish. So I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, what about just tying this tail on? And the one thing that sat there in front of me was this olive marabou, striped marabou. So I've done that with a tungsten bead on, 4mm tungsten bead. It looks the part, so we'll see. Another one. I think this might be a Spartic. It looks a bit light coloured. Very light colour. Yep. Done again. Huh? A fly? I don't know the name of it. Oh, he's off. It's a mongrel. A mongrel.
Have you heard of it?
No, I just made it up now. Yeah, straight for the reeds. Another Spartak flies out, that's good. He's a light coloured one. They look smaller than that. I've missed a few as well. Okay, it's late afternoon now, and the fishing for me has certainly picked up in the last part of the day. Obviously Justin is on it this morning, pulling probably 8 or 9 fish straight away. Got one Spartak, and Di had a few fish. Justin's fishing on the intermediate. He's got a 2-fly cast on. I'm on the floater. Di's on the floater. I've got my intermediate braid on, 5-foot intermediate braid. I have this afternoon put on a dropper, point flyers, green frits with striped marabou, sort of olivey brown colour, and that's obviously picked all the fish up. We were going through this morning. I've gone onto buzzers, I've gone nymphs, I've gone virtually everything. Di's doing the same. We're switching, we're trying different depths. A couple of the boys on the water this morning under the bung pulled a few fish, but for everybody on the water today it has been quite difficult. So I'm looking in this lake here now. Funny enough, we've got obviously the 4 lakes up here, and this particular lake seems to be the clearer. We tended to stay most of the day, although we have splashed a line in a few of the other ones. Plenty of room up here, but it's been good. Tiring, but it is good. Oh, hang on, have you got me?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh! See that?
I don't know how the hell we managed that.
I've never seen that before. Where are you going? Well, you don't have to go in that. We can pull that through. How the wind's going that way and it's come that way? I was really baffled. Couldn't get over that one.
There we go.
Brilliant.
There's my fly knot. You got my fly knot, have you?
Watching.
I nearly
You watch him.
I nearly had it, Dad.
Fucking one, dude.
There's a scabby one, is there?
No, I can't see.
That was unbelievable, that. I'm on the bank here. Don't know if you can see Justin's just here. He's back casting this way. I'm back casting this way. The wind's pushing this way and I'm putting the line out and I'm thinking, how's my fly over here? two lines collided on the back cast. Never had that before. And then take his fly off his dropper, and then keep it safe. Put it in my mouth, holding it on my lips, and then I walk off with his fly. Forgot it was there. All the space in the world. That net. The fish can properly revive in there. Keep going.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, nice one.
Oh, beauty as well.
Oh, let's go see this. Oh yeah, cracking fish, mate. Oh, beefy, isn't he?
Here's beef eating. Might have to do the honours.
Huh?
Might have to do the honours. I can walk back to
Yeah. Look at the girth on the damn thing, man. Bloody brilliant. Cracking, mate, and the fly just come out.
Beauty.
Okay, I got back to the cafe to have a cup of tea with the boys, and they've decided to head off home. So there's only about another maybe 3/4 an hour, maybe an hour of light. But the thing is, Di needs to get up again 4 o'clock tomorrow morning for work. So, and we got a good 4.5 hour run, maybe a bit more, to get home. So, but the day was great. Now, that last fish Justin picked up, cracking fish. He had actually lost one of about the same size or a bit bigger during the day, so it was really nice to see him hook hold of that fish. I was myself getting more and more confident watching the water. Everyone knows you target the first few hours in the morning and the last hour or so of the evening. But it's a shame that we gotta go home. We will have another trip back up here. I don't know when. I'll be covering other waters. I know the boys were going to talk about it now in the car on the way home. They're quite keen on covering a few other waters. We got young Steve, who's desperate to go with us. He was hoping to be with us today, but it didn't work out for him. But it's been a good day. Obviously this morning, best method was the intermediate. Everybody on the lakes, all the lakes up here today, mainly we're fishing on floating lines, and Justin was hitting them out on the intermediate. I myself were going to switch, but then I was adamant that I was going to start picking fish up on the floating line, and I'm glad I stuck with it, because obviously it shows then that I did start picking them up, and that was really nice. Oh, and it was good getting up here, meeting a few of the subscribers. Really, do you know what, it's surprising. I was coming up here and thinking, will it be nobody talking? But I've met people on the bank. Everybody I met on the bank today really polite, chatty, and it was great. Really lovely water to come and visit. I would recommend it. It is a nice water. Plenty of room, plenty of fish. Okay, we did struggle today, but as I say, everyone struggled a bit today. But I hope you enjoyed the video. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Give us a thumbs up, comment. It'd be nice to have some comments. Do like to get to know you people through the comments. Until the next video, take care.